Today we're visiting Arad, the 12th biggest city in Romania, and our first stop is the City Hall of Arad. In English this is actually referred to as the Administrative Palace, and it was opened in 1872. What's interesting about Arad, this is the capital city of the historic region of Crișana, and it was under Austro-Hungarian rule for centuries, as was Timișoara and other neighboring cities and regions. And this is the back of the building. It looks pretty much the same. Behind me you can see the Economic College, another impressive building. And in front of me there's the Palace of Culture. I cannot believe how grand those buildings are. I legit didn't expect to see this. When you're born and raised in Bucharest, you're a bit sheltered. I mean, you don't know a lot about your country, which is kind of sad, but you don't realize that there's more cities in Romania than Bucharest. The Cultural Palace was built in 1913, 5 years before Romania won its independence. The Palace of Culture also served as the Philharmonic of State from Arad. We're now looking at Mures River. Mures River is a 789-kilometer long river that originates from the Eastern Carpathian Mountains and crosses several regions. I'll stop saying impressive architecture or impressive building every single time I show you a building, because I would basically have to say impressive after each time. So you get the idea. When I show you something, you can complete it yourself with extraordinary architecture. I don't know what this thing in front of me is, but I think it's a church and it looks good. So my assumption about this building was correct. It is a church. I think that building was something like a block of flats, but they're interbellic. This is the Palace of Youth, but if you ask me, it looks a little bit old. In front of us, I'm looking at University Arad Arad. Arad is a famous Romanian personality. He was a famous pilot. And this university is actually hosted in the old building of the National Bank of Arad. Evidence of the first Proto-Romanians in the region dates back from the 4th century, but this region has a very controversial history because the Hungarians started to expand in this region, mainly through the valley of River Mures, and it was under Hungarian occupation for, don't quote me on this, but I think roughly 900 years. And there were the original Romanians in the area as well as Hungarian citizens, and they didn't get along necessarily well along history, and the Romanians had to convert to Catholicism if they wanted functions, like higher functions, or to keep their property. It's a bit of a controversial history. And then after the First World War, when the Austro-Hungarian Empire collapsed, Transylvania got, which is the entire region and covers Banat and Crișana, which is the historic region where we're here, it was finally connected to Romania and we became a country. So the different regions of Romania, which were independent and under different sort of rules until then, finally we got unified under one ruler, and Romanian became the official language across all regions. And yeah, so we've been an independent country for 102 years. Another gorgeous building, no idea what this is, but it's, you know it, impressive. Judging by the entrance, looks like it was a palace. I'm now looking at a grand Roman Catholic church, actually cathedral. Behind me you can see theater Ioan Slavic, who was a famous Romanian author and novelist. Of course, it wouldn't be a complete trip without some souvenir shopping. I'm now standing in front of Hotel The White Cross, or in Romanian Crucea Albă. It used to be called this way, but now it's just Hotel Ardealul, and it's a historical monument with tradition, and it's an iconic building in the landscape of Arad. And this hotel, the present building, was built between 1840 and 1841 after the plans of architect Franz Ferdinand. This building was built in neoclassical architectural style, but it was built on an old han, which is like an old school pub from the 18th century. And one of the most famous guests of the hotel was the Emperor Franz Joseph of Austro-Hungary. So he slept in one of the rooms just above me. Unfortunately, everything on the other side is under renovation. And also the hotel doesn't look very cozy right now, but I'm sure it was quite the luxury in its time. I like to imagine that this used to be a grand entry. I like the buildings here look better preserved than some of the buildings in Timișoara, like speaking overall. But unfortunately, a lot of them, both here and in Timișoara, if you haven't watched my Timișoara video, make sure you check it out, I'll link it somewhere on the screen. A lot of them were just left to degrade or taken care of, and it's such a shame because those are just historic treasures. I would like to come back here in a couple of years and hope that they've been restored back to their glory. There's a fresh grocers market over here, so if you need any fresh fruits and veg, you can buy it straight from the producers. So this building is called the Church and School, and it belongs to the parish church of Romanian parish church of Arad, and it's known as the Old Cathedral. It was built between 1861 and 1865, and it's under the care of Saint John the Baptist. It was built as a place of worship. It's for the Romanians in Arad. This is an Orthodox church, and it was built in a time when the official religion in this area was Catholicism. So it's considered a building of national importance because it helped the Romanians from this region to worship in their beliefs. And this, the grocers market, is actually called the Square of the Cathedral, and it's where the farmers come to sell their produce. You can find really good watermelons in Romania at this time of the year, August. Squat slumping because my feet hurt. So my conclusion is the following. I highly recommend you visit Arad. In my opinion, it's a highly underrated city. It's worth a visit. I'd spent maybe a day or two over here, so I wouldn't spend a whole week because although there's a lot to see, some of those places are closed, so you can only see them from the outside. And I'd give it a 9 out of 10 for getting here, because it has an airport nearby, but if you're driving from other parts of the country, it's a bit harder, like the roads are a bit more difficult. In terms of prices, I'd give it again, I think I would even give it a 10 because for tourists the prices aren't bad. They're quite affordable, especially if you're a foreign tourist. And for things to see, I'd give it an 8 or a 9 because there's so many gorgeous buildings, but unfortunately you can't visit a whole load of them. But I think I'd give it like a 9, and some of them are just a bit untaken care of, but the people are really friendly, and I haven't looked up hotels. I'm sure there's a lot of places where you can stay over here, and in terms of proximity I would also give it a 10 because you have other attractions in the area which you can visit, like Timișoara, Oradea, which are not far, so you can do this as part of a tour or road trip of Western Romania. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, tell me why in the comments, and please share it with whoever you think needs to see it.